Sunday morning. The good pan is hot, the coffee's poured, and you crack 2 eggs from the carton you paid extra for. The one with the green meadow on the front, the little red barn, the hen standing in grass that looks like a screensaver. Cage-free, farm-fresh, all natural. You bought the picture. Everybody does. Here's the thing nobody prints next to that meadow. The hen that laid those eggs may have never once stood on grass. She may have spent her whole life in a windowless barn the size of a warehouse, wing to wing with tens of thousands of others, under a word that a marketing team chose specifically because of how it would make you feel in this exact moment. You didn't get fooled because you were careless. You got fooled because you read the carton. And the carton was written to be read exactly the way you just read it. We pulled the cartons from the 10 biggest grocery chains in the country and did something the front of the box hopes you never do. We turned every one of them around, and we checked each promise against the only thing that matters: the law behind it, and whether anybody is actually allowed to check. Most of the words failed. Not because the eggs are dangerous, because the words are paint. And here's the part that'll stay with you all week. The single most trusting-looking mark in the whole egg aisle, the one that looks like a government seal of approval, the one that made you relax, is a mark that the Better Business Bureau and a row of state attorneys general formally called misleading. They made the company changed it. The company changed the words. It never changed the cages. Quick one before we start. Type the exact words on the egg carton in your fridge right now. The front of the box, every adjective, spelled the way it's printed. By the end of this video, you'll know which of those words is a promise somebody has to keep and which ones are just paint. Drop them in the comments. I'll come back to yours. 4 terms are going to do all the work tonight: access, vegetarian fed, the grade shield, and third-party certified. Learn those 4 and the egg aisle can never run the word game on you again. Because on a carton, a word is what they want you to feel. A seal is what somebody actually checked. Words are free. Seals get audited. We judged all 10 stores the same way. Federal definitions, court records, the government's own labeling rules, paper only. Counting down the words, worst at the end. Let's start at number 7. First, the honest part, because this channel doesn't sell panic. Nothing in this video is about a dangerous egg. Your eggs are safe to eat. Nobody's hens are being poisoned, and finding a weak word on a label is not the same as proving any one farm mistreated any one bird. This isn't a fear video. The crime here isn't poison, it's language. It's paying cheese money for a photograph. Every number you're about to hear comes from the USDA's own labeling rules, from federal court filings, from a Federal Trade Commission letter, and from a $6 million university study. Every claim tonight has a page behind it. One more thing before the countdown. For years, the story we all carried was simple. Caged eggs are the cheap, sad ones, and the more the carton promises, the better the hen had it. More words, more meadow, more money, better life. Keep that story in your head. Watch what the rulebook does to it. Number 7, farm fresh. Start with the friendliest liar in the aisle, because it's the one nobody even questions: farm fresh. It sounds like a truck pulled up this morning from a little red barn upstate. Here's what it actually means: nothing. There is no federal definition of farm fresh for eggs. None. Any producer can print it on any carton, from any operation, at any age. And the word farm is doing less than you think. The USDA's own definition of a farm is any place that sells at least $1,000 of agricultural products in a year. That's the whole bar. A building with 1 million hens in cages clears that definition before breakfast. So farm fresh isn't a promise about a hen or a field or a morning. It's a promise about accounting. It opens this list because it's the shallow end. Feel the temperature. It drops fast from here. Number 6, no hormones. This one isn't empty. It's worse. It's true. And it's engineered to make you thank them for obeying a law they were never allowed to break. Every carton that brags no hormones is telling you the truth. Those hens got no hormones. So did every other hen in the country. Federal law has banned hormones in all us poultry for decades. It is flatly illegal to give a laying hen hormones at any farm under any label. So printing no hormones on eggs is like printing no toxic waste on a box of cereal. It's accurate. It's also a magic trick. It takes a rule that covers everybody and dresses it up as something this brand chose to do for you. You're not being lied to. You're being congratulated on their behalf for following the law. Watch how often the trick works like that. Not a false statement, just a true one aimed to land is more than it is. Number 5. Vegetarian fed. Here's your second term, and it's the one that flips the whole aisle inside out. Vegetarian fed sounds clean, wholesome, like the hen ate a nice salad. It's actually a quiet confession, and once you can read it, you can't unsee it. Chickens are not vegetarians. They're omnivores. Little raptors, honestly. And in a normal life, they spend all day hunting bugs, worms, grubs, the occasional unlucky mouse. That's the diet their body is built for. So ask the obvious question. How do you guarantee a hen never eats a single bug? There's exactly one way. You never let her outside. You keep her indoors, on the ground, where there's nothing alive to catch. Vegetarian fed doesn't describe a healthier hen. It describes a hen that was never allowed to forage, which means a hen that almost certainly never touched open ground. And there's a cost the label doesn't mention. Deny a chicken her natural animal protein, and she runs short on an amino acid called methionine. Short enough, and hens turn aggressive and start pecking each other. So producers dose the feed with synthetic methionine to make up for the bugs she was never allowed to hunt. A word that sounds like a garden is often the tell for a warehouse. That's the game running in reverse. The wholesome word is the red flag. And here's the bridge you need, because the next word isn't empty and it isn't a tell. It's the big one, the word 2,700 companies put in writing, then quietly walked back last year. Number 4, cage-free. This is the word that launched a decade of promises, so let's give it its due, then turn it over. Cage-free is real in one narrow sense. The hens are not in stacked wire battery cages. That is a genuine difference, and it matters. But listen to what the word smuggles in on the side. The picture of a hen walking around in the open. Cage-free says nothing about open. It's a floor plan, not a meadow. Under the USDA's standard, cage-free hens need unlimited food and water and room to move, inside. There is no requirement for a window, no requirement for a door, no requirement for 1 minute of sky. Tens of thousands of birds can live their entire lives in one dim shed, at industry guidelines of roughly 1 square foot each. A little more than a battery cage gave them, and still less than a sheet of paper. No cage, no outside either. Now here's your third term, the one that decides whether the word means anything at all, the grade shield. That little shield-shaped USDA mark. When a carton carries it and says cage-free, the government has actually source-verified the claim real inspectors, real farm visits, at least twice a year. No grade shield, and cage-free is just a sentence the company wrote about itself, with nobody sent to check. Same 2 words. One version got inspected. One version got typed. And the cruelest twist on this word came from the industry's own research. A $6 million commercial study, run by UC Davis with Michigan State, Iowa State, and the USDA's own scientists over 3 years, compared cages to cage-free aviaries. The cage-free hens had stronger bones. They could move. They also died at more than double the rate of the caged hens. Double. More pecking, more crowding, worse air. Now, fairly, the researchers flagged that some of that may be a learning curve in managing a new system. But sit with the headline. The word you were told means kinder didn't even reliably mean safer for the bird. Cage-free was sold to you as a finish line. It was barely a floor, and you weren't imagining the pressure behind it. Starting around 2015, more than 2,700 companies, McDonald's, Walmart, Kroger, the whole aisle pledged to go fully cage-free by 2025. Then 2025 arrived. Walmart said it wouldn't hit the goal and blamed customers and suppliers. Kroger did the same. Target missed its deadline and pushed it to 2030. The word stayed on the cartons the entire time. The promise behind it got a new due date, quietly, while you kept paying for the old one. Below this line, the words stop being empty or sloppy and start getting expensive. From here up, every word costs you real money, and one of them has already been to court. Number 3. Free range. Free range is where the wordplay gets a lawyer, because unlike farm fresh, this one is actually defined by the USDA, which turns out to be the problem, not the fix. Here's your 4th term, and it's the whole trick in a single word, access. To print free range, the rule says hens must have access to the outdoors. That's it, access. The rule does not say how big the outdoors is. It doesn't say how long they get. It doesn't say the door has to be reachable, or open, or used. A producer can satisfy access with a small pop-hole in the wall of a shed holding 20,000 birds a door. Most of them will never find. Opening onto a strip of dirt, most of them will never reach. On paper, every one of those hens is free range. In the barn, almost none of them ever range. And this word has already been tested in a courtroom. A class action filed in 2019 in New York took on a well-known free-range egg brand Nellie's, made by Pete and Jerry's. These are allegations, and the company later settled. So let me be precise. Nothing here is a proven verdict. But the filing described eyewitness footage of around 20,000 hens packed into a single shed, about 1.2 square feet, each barely bigger than the bird reaching the outdoors only by fighting their way to a hatch. The cartons, meanwhile, showed hens on rolling green fields and said the birds lived better lives. A judge let the case move forward instead of throwing it out. That ruling is the point. A court agreed that a green field on a box, over a barn like that, could mislead an ordinary shopper. The eggs, at times, cost about twice the plain ones. Twice the price for the word access. A door, not a field. Which brings us to the two most expensive words on the shelf. They cost the most and they prove the least. And the very last one on this list isn't even a word. It's a badge. Number 2. Pasture-raised. This is the premium word, the one on the $8 carton with the sunrise and the hand-lettered font, the one you buy when you've decided to do it right. And here's what stops most people cold. Pasture-raised is not regulated by the USDA at all. Not weekly, like free range. At all. There is no federal definition. Anybody can print pasture-raised on any carton, and on its own, the word is worth exactly the ink. What saves the word? The only thing that saves it is a third-party seal next to it. Certified Humane's pasture-raised standard is 108 square feet per hen, outdoors, year-round, on rotated fields. That's a real number, audited by an outside inspector. Without that kind of seal, pasture-raised is a mood. And this word, too, has been to court, in a case that's actually the perfect lesson. The country's biggest pasture-raised brand, Vital Farms, got sued in Texas in 2021 over whether pasture-raised and certified humane could mislead shoppers. In 2022, a judge let it proceed, and here's the line that matters for every carton you own. The court said even a third-party standard can mislead, because the standard's definition of a word can be different from what a normal shopper thinks the word means. Now, and this is the fair part, Vital Farms won. In 2025, the plaintiffs dropped the case, and the company paid no settlement. It won partly because it had the seal and the paper trail the word alone never guarantees. So don't hear an accusation. Hear the mechanism. The word pasture-raised didn't defend itself. The seal and the receipts did. The word was never the thing. It was always the seal behind it. Number 1. And it isn't a word at all. It's the seal. Everything so far has been about words on the front of the carton. Number 1 is the badge that made you stop reading the words because it looked like the government already had. For years, cartons across this whole aisle carried a mark that read Animal Care Certified. It had the shape and weight of an official welfare seal. It made careful shoppers relax. The exact people most likely to check went quiet because the badge looked like it had done the checking for them. Here's what happened when someone finally checked the badge. Back in 2003, an advocacy group filed complaints with the Better Business Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission. The Better Business Bureau's own review board ruled that the Animal Care Certified logo was misleading to consumers and should be discontinued. The industry appealed. It lost the appeal. In 2005, the FTC noted the changes made would, their words, directly address the deception. And in 2006, a group of state attorneys general reached a settlement. The producers paid $100,000 and agreed not to use that logo again. So the badge changed. It became United Egg Producers Certified. Same idea, quieter font. And here's the anchor that makes this number 1, the thing to hold on to after everything else fades. The standard behind the seal, the one that still allowed crowded wire cages, forced molting by starvation, and cutting the beaks off chicks did not change. Only the words on the badge changed. The regulators didn't force better hens. They forced a better sentence. The company, for the record, denied it had ever misled anyone. It paid the $100,000 anyway and moved on. That's why the seal outranks every word above it. A meaningless word like farm fresh at least looks like marketing, you're on guard. A badge that looks like a government inspector is marketing wearing a lab coat. It doesn't just make a claim. It shuts down the part of you that would have questioned the claim. That's not a weak label. That's the word game's masterpiece, a mark whose entire job was to make you stop reading, sitting on cartons in every one of those 10 stores. Words are free. This badge charged you your own attention. So pause the countdown, because the real question isn't which word, it's why. Why does an entire aisle run on language the law barely touches? Go back about 10 years. Around 2015, the cage-free wave hit, and more than 2,700 companies pledged to change. Overnight, humane sounding was worth money, real shelf money. Demand for words like cage-free, free-range, pasture-raised, humane exploded. But the law didn't move with it. Congress didn't define pasture-raised. The USTA didn't put an inspector behind farm fresh or natural or humane. It kept enforcing the one welfare-adjacent word it had always enforced, organic, plus cage-free and free-range only for the producers who volunteered for the grade shield. Everything else, all that emotion, got handed to marketing departments and a patchwork of voluntary seals with wildly different rigor, from tough independent audits down to an industry badge that certified almost nothing. Here's the math that tells the whole story. Turn over a premium carton and you might count a dozen warm words. Farm fresh, all natural, cage-free, free-range, humane, vegetarian-fed, no hormones, pasture-raised. A dozen promises. And exactly one of them, organic, is defined and inspected by your government. One audited word, standing in a crowd of free ones. The gap between what the word makes you feel and what the rule makes it mean. That gap isn't a flaw in the system. That gap is the product. It's the whole reason the fancy carton costs $8 and the plain one costs $3, when the paper behind them can be nearly the same. And before you go reorganize your fridge on instinct, let me take the most common wrong instinct away from you, because you've seen the videos. The darker the yolk, the more pasture-raised, the more natural, the better the egg. It feels true. It isn't. Yolk color comes from pigments in the feed. Marigold extract, paprika, sometimes an additive dialed in on purpose. A factory can produce a deep sunset orange yolk out of a windowless barn by adjusting the feed, and a genuinely pastured hen in winter can lay a paler one. Color is a setting, not a certificate. Judge the yolk and you're grading the one part of the egg the producer can tune like a paint chip. If you repeat the orange yolk rule at brunch, the first person who checks will win the argument. Aim your attention at the seal, not the shade. While the receipt's out, run the year. Say the meadow carton costs you $2 more than the plain one, which the court filings suggest is conservative for the premium words. A dozen a week, 52 weeks, is over $100 a year. If that 100 bought 108 square feet of real pasture with an auditor behind it, spend it with a smile. But if it only bought the word pasture-raised with no seal beside it, you didn't buy a better life for a hen. You bought a photograph of one. Now multiply that by millions of cartons, every week, across the whole country. Nobody robbed you. You tipped, generously, for a picture. One carton at a time, for years. So what should you actually buy? 3 winners, judged by the exact same rule that just failed 7 words, a definition you can point to, and somebody outside the company allowed to check it. Number 3. The word organic. The real one, with the green USTA seal. It's the one welfare-adjacent term your government actually defines and inspects on the farm. No cages, some outdoor access, feed with no GMOs or pesticides. It is not a guarantee of a hen in a meadow, and I won't pretend it is. But it's the only one of tonight's words with a federal inspector standing behind it. That alone lifts it above the entire front of the carton. Number 2. The third-party seal, not the word, the logo. Certified humane, animal welfare approved, global animal partnership with a step number. These are the ones with real figures and outside auditors, the 108 square feet, the 6 hours outdoors, the ammonia limits. The winner here isn't a brand. It's a badge with an inspector attached. And notice the trap this closes. The fake badge at number 1 and a real badge here can sit inches apart on the same shelf. Your whole job is learning to tell the mark that gets audited from the mark that just got printed. And number 1 isn't the priciest carton. It's the carton that shows its work. The brands that print a farm id you can type into a website and trace, the ones that pair a real third-party seal with a name and a place. That's the tell. Remember, the big pasture-raised brand won its lawsuit, not because its word was pretty, but because it had the seal and the traceability to back the word up. The winner isn't the most expensive egg. It's the one hiding the least, the one that dares you to check instead of daring you not to. 3 kitchen tests before you go. No lab required. Test 1, the flip. Tonight, turn the carton around and cover the front of the box with your hand. Ignore every adjective. Hunt for one thing, a third-party seal. Certified humane, animal welfare approved, a global animal partnership step number, or the green USTA organic seal. A real logo, not a warm word. If the front is loud and the back has no seal, you're holding paint. Test 2, the word audit. Read every welfare-sounding word out loud and ask one question of each. Is there a number or an auditor behind it? Cage-free, alone, with no grade shield? No. Pasture-raised, alone, with no seal? No. Farm-fresh, natural, vegetarian-fed, no hormones? Never. The words that survive that question are the only ones you're actually buying. Test 3, the trace. If you're paying premium money, look for a farm code or a trace your eggs line and actually type it in. A carton proud of its farm invites you to find it. A carton that can't be traced was selling you a stock photo of somebody else's field. Not proof of cruelty on its own, but a carton that won't be checked has told you something. One caveat, same as always on this channel. None of these 3 tests prove how one specific hen lived. They prove something simpler and more useful, whether the carton is willing to be checked at all. That's the line. Some cartons invite the flip, most just hope you won't. 4 myths to leave in the aisle. Myth 1, brown eggs are healthier. No. Shell color is just the breed of the hen, down to the color of her earlobes, and the nutrition is identical. You're paying extra for a paint job on a shell. Myth 2, no hormones means this brand went the extra mile. It didn't. Hormones are illegal in all us eggs, so every carton qualifies and only some brag. Myth 3, cage-free automatically means happy hens roaming free. No, it's a barn, not a field, and the industry's own study found those hens died at double the rate. Kinder to your conscience isn't the same as kinder to the bird. Myth 4, the pricier, prettier carton is the honest one. Price tells you the markup. The back of the box, and only the seal on it, tells you the truth. The photo costs extra. The flip is free. Here's the whole video in 5 seconds at the shelf. Cover the front with your thumb. Ignore every adjective. Find one real seal on the back, organic or a third-party welfare logo with a number. If there's a farm id, trace it. No seal, no trace, just words? Then you're buying a picture and you can put it down. 5 seconds, once. Then it's automatic for life. So here's what you walked away with tonight. Access, a door, not a field. Vegetarian fed, the wholesome word that means indoors. The grade shield, the mark that turns a claim into an inspection. And third-party certified, a badge with an auditor, not just ink. 4 terms, and the egg aisle just went transparent. Most of the words failed. Farm fresh means nothing. No hormones is the law. Vegetarian fed is a confession. Cage-free is a floor plan. Free-range is a door nobody uses. Pasture-raised is a mood without a seal. And the hardest fall of all belonged to the badge that looked the most official. Because a word is what they want you to feel. A seal is what somebody actually checked. Now it's your turn. Look at the carton you named at the start, the words you dropped in the comments. Tell me the brand and every word on the front, exactly as it's printed, and I'll tell you which ones are promises and which ones are paint. I read every single one, and the carton you all name most becomes the next one we pull. And send this to the person in your life who's been buying the meadow on the front for years, paying extra for the picture and feeling good about it. They earned the truth. Nobody should have to pay $8 to be told a story about a hen they'll never meet. See you at the next carton.